What is up, Ravens flock? Huge shout out for your support for the 410 Sports Talk. James and Glenn are the best in the business. They're killing it right now. They love talking Raven talk. Make sure you go subscribe to their channel. Let's go Ravens. Big trust.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm James Haskell, along with my co-host Glenn Martin. Glenn, how are you doing tonight?
Well, I'm doing a little bit better. We finally have some decent injury news to talk about with the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I realize I come on the show and never ask you how you're doing, so I'm glad to hear you're doing well. This is some good news. You're absolutely right. We're going to talk about Juwan James and the news behind the right tackle that the Ravens signed in the offseason that is coming off an Achilles injury. But before we do, two things. One, subscribe to the channel. It's the easiest and most impactful way you can support the show. Two, this show is brought to you by LinkedIn Recruiting Services. Right now, with everything that's going on in today's world of COVID, the Great Resignation, recruiters are working harder than ever. If you're a recruiter out there that watches this show, you can post your job for free on the most used job search, that is LinkedIn, using our promo code linkedin.com/410. Check it out if you're looking to hire the best folks. You can tailor your ad. It's absolutely free. So check it out for yourselves. Use promo code 410. But Glenn, what is the news? What do we got going on?
Yes, the big right tackle, Juwan James, has been activated off the IR list, returning to practice and beginning his 21-day window to be elevated to the active roster or be put on IR for the remainder of the season. So, Jimmy, I mean, this is finally, in the sea of bad news when it comes to Ravens injuries, just a bit of decent news. Now, when you heard this, were you thinking, well, McCarry's out, Tyree Phillips has, struggled at right tackle, and even McCarry at his best, let's be honest, he's no Pro Bowler. What were your thoughts when you heard Juwan James was going to return to practice?
You're going to hate my answer.
Oh,
you're going to hate it.
What is it?
You know what I thought?
What?
I can't wait till next year. Can't wait till next year. The idea, based on the fact that he is already healthy enough to be designated to return to practice and hoping that Ronnie's injuries will no longer impact him and he'll make a full and healthy recovery. And the idea of those two as our bookends next year is immediately came to my mind. Nothing, honestly, this year. I mean, if you think about it, he played in the 2019 season, he played 3 games and played none last season. That's a heck of a lot of rust.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
You can't knock that rust off in 3 weeks of in-season practice?
Ask Nick Boyle. I mean, now Nick Boyle's injury is much more detrimental, and it's crazy to say that an injury is much more detrimental than Achilles, but that was my instant reaction. Yeah, that was my instant reaction, to be honest with you. It was like, okay, that's a great sign for him as a player, but I don't see it having much of an immediate impact now or even later on in the season. Part of that is because I'm so pessimistic about the Ravens' injuries this year.
Yeah. Yeah, and I tend to agree with you because here's the thing that Ravens fans have to keep in mind. How many guys returned from injury only to have a setback, have a different injury, have the same injury?
Kind of a theme this year, right?
Yeah, I mean, so, do you think that would make John, even if the progress he shows is unbelievable, let's say he goes out there and he looks like he hasn't missed a game, he looks mid-season form, even though I don't expect this, but let's say it does. Do you think John, just because of what's happened this year, would be more reluctant to put him out there, even if he did look spectacular?
And this is not a knock on John. I don't think it's a right or wrong answer. But if John thinks he looks good enough, he's going to let him play football. I mean, I think that's just John's competitive nature. And then also, I think that as a player, it's really hard to keep yourself from chomping at the bit. It's been so long. He was in that weird situation with the Broncos. He wants to go out there and prove himself. And prove that the Ravens taking a risk on him from an injury standpoint, not a player standpoint, is something worth doing. So I think if by some miracle from the Lord Almighty, right, that he comes down and touches him with his hand, and all of a sudden now we saw it with Terrell Suggs. You remember the bounce back that Terrell Suggs had?
But you're talking about sizzle.
Yeah, it's true, and you're talking about a different human.
Yes.
So certainly not willing to jump that far, but he made a miraculous recovery. So maybe the Ravens have something in the water when it comes to an Achilles
that's specific. That's very granular.
Specific injury, exactly. But yeah, so I think that if he is there, to not make my answer too long here, if he's really exceeding all expectations. Yeah, I mean, I expect him to be out there, but I don't know if I see it. What about?
So,
I mean,
my only thing is why activate him? I mean, are
yeah,
you bringing him off the IR just so you can see him in some team activity and some practice
yeah.
against
What
live
if?
bodies? What's the point?
Right, like I wonder, and that's what I was thinking. Because what about the financial ramifications to like finding out if he's legit for next year or not? Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Because like I said, if they cut ties at the end of this year instead of next year, certainly there'll be financial differences there. So maybe there's some analyzing they wanna go through. That's one
Yeah.
thing that I can think of. Also, I think it's like maybe he's on the threshold, and they're like, all right, well, you're safe enough to give you a run, but it's a whole different ball game between practice. I mean, Zion Williams is practicing at 3,000 pounds right now.
Yeah.
He's not ready. He's not ready to play NBA basketball, right?
Mhm,
Like,
mhm.
so there's a definite difference between being ready for practice and being ready for a game, don't you think?
Oh, no doubt, especially when you look around the AFC North and really in general the last remaining games for the Ravens, they
Yep.
got a ton of big time pass rushers to still deal with TJ Watt still on the schedule, Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, the Packers still have, if they have their healthy duo of pass rushers. But it is interesting that they decide to activate him. I mean, I guess they could just say, hey, look, we want to see what he looks against Owe. We want to see what he looks like against Justin Houston and Tyus Bowser. Maybe
Yeah.
that is the case. Or just maybe he's been so incredibly impressive from what they've seen. His recovery has been, so far ahead of schedule that maybe in 3 weeks, what if, Jimmy, in 3 weeks, he's good enough to not maybe
Right in time for
start,
Christmas. Mm-hmm.
but maybe he's good enough to at least be activated as a swing tackle. And then maybe if the Ravens can squeeze in, maybe playoff time, we may see. I mean, I just,
You have a
it,
way, Glenn, about getting my hopes up.
well, I'm
And
just
like,
saying, I mean,
I'm
why
just
activate him
settling
just for
in.
some
I'm
practice reps?
just settling into like, all right, maybe the Ravens are going to struggle the rest of the year. Like, I'm just settling into that mindset.
Time to
Now
get your
you're
hopes
like,
up.
you're getting it percolating again, right? Like, so maybe, just maybe is what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Like, if that happens, I mean, the impact could be great because he could be a serious jolt to this run game.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I will say that is in your favor here is simply this. They have been saying since they signed him, there's a chance he could play this year. That's been reported since the offseason.
Yep.
So there's a possibility, is all I'm saying. So, yeah, I mean, it could make an impact. It could be certainly extremely impactful based on the fact that we're on our, third tackle almost at this point on the right side. So, yeah, I think it could be great. The likelihood of it happening, I'd say 10% in comparison to 90% that it wouldn't happen.
Okay, so you're saying there's a chance.
I am saying there's a chance, absolutely. So it
I'll
sounds
take
like you're
it.
feeling more positive
Well,
than me.
I mean, at this point, what do you have to lose from feeling a little optimism? I mean, every time I turn on the phone, I see a new updated alert, and it's another Raven down.
Yeah.
So, look, I'm going to choose to be optimistic
Okay.
because that's all I have left. But
Well,
let us
for the
know.
first time in my life, I'm not riding that train with you, Glenn. For the first time in my life in the history of this show, I'm not riding that train.
I'm the optimist and you're the pessimist is quite a role reversal. But let us know what you guys think. Is this just to see what he has in practice against some live competition? Practice, but still live competition. Or is this just, is there a real opportunity this guy could be the reinforcements the Ravens need on the offensive line if they do make it into the playoffs? Let us know what you guys think in the comments below, and we will talk soon.